Hi everybody, welcome back to Exotics of the World TV, and in this video we're going to do something a little bit different. So I'm going to talk to you about a personal story that happened in the shop not too long ago. Typically I wouldn't really talk about these matters, but now we have this platform, I feel it quite poignant that I do need to kind of express what happened. So in this video, we're also going to talk about why proper care and why proper setups are really crucial and important for your reptile. And we're also going to be talking about why supporting local business is very, very important. So without further ado, please sit back, relax, and enjoy the content. So let's start off with the story. So this happened quite a few weeks ago now. And this lady just came into the store, as obviously many people do, inquiring about bearded dragons and setups and stuff, as it was going to be for her son's birthday. Now, there might be question marks already surrounding reptiles and public holidays and people's birthdays and stuff, but that's not the main point of this video. So as always, we went through the care and the maintenance of a bearded dragon. So outlining that these animals needed a 4 foot by 2 foot by 2 foot enclosure as a minimum. So here at the store, we don't sell babies out in anything less than a 4 foot by 2 foot. We also went through heating and lighting. So talked about UVB, talked about basking, went through temperatures. I was with this lady for quite a long time, so you're probably talking around about maybe 2 hours or so. So after we went through like the whole like spiel, care, etc., we obviously then started to talk about pricing. Now, as most of you know, setting reptiles up it can be quite costly, and there's realistically, to do it properly, there's no real getting away or around that. Now, this customer really did not like the price of the bearded dragon setups. Now, bearing in mind that we offer 422 vivariums, we offer UVB, we offer basking, thermostats, thermometers, cleaners, food bowls, water bowls, literally everything. The only thing that we don't offer is obviously the bearded dragon and any like other decory bits and bobs, so things like branches, etc. So we feel that actually what you get from us is a pretty good deal. But I'm not here to plug really the shop. I need to talk to you about the story. So she wasn't best pleased, obviously, with the price. So she made that quite clear as well. And arguably it was a little bit rude. So after I'd spent like 2 hours with her and she didn't like the price, she got a little bit snippy and was like, well, that's ridiculous. It's just a lizard. Now, those fateful words, it's just a lizard, really frustrate me as a reptile keeper, as I'm assuming they frustrate you as well that are watching this. These aren't just lizards. These are living sentient creatures that we have the privilege, not the right, the privilege to take care of. So she was saying that she could get it way cheaper. She knows she could get it cheaper, etc. Now, she probably could. There is obviously online. You can sometimes obviously get things a lot cheaper, but that's neither here nor there. So after we'd had this discussion, she went away and then she came back 5 days later. Now, she came back and she was gloating. Like, that's all I can describe it as. She was like, I've got it so much cheaper online. You were charging this amount and I've got it for like 250 or just under 250 pounds, sorry. So I was like, all right, okay, no problem. We will need to see proof of setup before we can let the animal go. So when you obviously pop back, just make sure that you bring your photographs or you can send them through to our Facebook page, etc. So we make it quite easy. Obviously, we prefer people to buy from us, but if you already have enclosures and setups, etc., then that's absolutely fine. We just need to make sure that your enclosure that you want to house this animal in is going to be appropriate for your animal. So she agreed. She was like, yeah, I will do, no worries. She was going through the bearded dragons. She was like, oh, my son really likes the colourful ones, etc. So then 2 weeks from there passed and she comes in again. So she comes in, she's like, I'm ready to put a deposit down on a bearded dragon. Like, okay, perfect. So it was me again. So all these 3 meetings, it's been with me. So I'm well aware of the situation, you know, I'm well aware of the conversations, etc. that we've had. So I say to her, okay, perfect. Before we go any further, let's talk about your setup. So show me photos of your enclosure. She turns around, she says, well, I haven't got any. I haven't got any photos. So I'm like, right, I'm not willing or prepared to spend any more time that I already have done at this point, I've probably spent getting on for like 3 or 4 hours with this customer. And she's been very rude to me. She's been quite dismissive, and that's it. So yeah, so she says that she doesn't have pictures of her setup. So I was like, well, we can't release the animal without obviously seeing proof of setup, etc., etc. She was like, don't worry, it's for my son's birthday. It's not for 2 days anyway. Like, okay, no worries. So show me what you've bought. So she goes on her phone, she goes on her app, and again, she's scrolling through, and she's gloating. She's like, way cheaper, way cheaper, way cheaper. Now, bearing in mind that I had sent her a link to our YouTube video on bearded dragon care, I had gone through it with her, not once, but twice. She was well aware that she needed a 4-foot enclosure. She was well aware of the type of equipment she needed, etc., etc. Very well aware of this. Also, I thought, when she showed me what she had purchased, I was absolutely flabbergasted. So she went out and she purchased a 30-gallon fish tank, which in like feet, it's around about 2.5 foot. It was about 2.5 foot by like 18 by 15 tall. So strike one, wildly inappropriate enclosure, wildly inappropriate. So strike two, the UVB that she had purchased was a compact bulb. Now, we're not in the early 2000s anymore. We don't realistically use compact bulbs, really. We would always recommend using T5 lighting. It's the more modern way to go, etc., etc. You probably watched the care guide video, so you know what to expect. She'd also purchased a Baskin bulb. Now, I'm not sure if any of you have seen them. We see them quite a lot because a lot of people just go on Amazon and they just see, Baskin bulb. And it's the ones that have got the UVB in them, and they're on the kind of snake-like kind of holders, and you can move them about like that. Now, these are incredibly dangerous bulbs. These do emit high levels of UVC, which can be quite detrimental, not only for your animal, but also for you as well. So again, wildly inappropriate, like shouldn't be selling them, in my opinion. So she'd also bought a heat mat amongst other like little knick-knacky, like tacky kind of bits. But basically, to cut a long story short, the enclosure that she provided was going to provide for this bearded dragon was wildly inappropriate. It was shocking. It was probably one of the worst ones that we've seen here for quite a while. I explained this to her as professionally as I possibly could. I gave her reasons. She asked me to go into a little bit more detail, so I broke down why. I got the UVIs. I got everything. So I spent even more time with this person. So she then, after I'd said all this, it wasn't appropriate, she first of all turned around and said to me, well, it'll be all right for now, won't it? And I was like, no, it won't be all right for now. Like, you're starting off on like the wrong foot. You've not got the correct, not potentially correct, but you've not really got the ideal mentality behind wanting to care for these animals. It's like we would always start off as the minimum, and in our opinion, like the minimum is 4 foot by 2 foot, Baskin spot bulb and T5 lighting, along obviously with your thermostats, etc., etc. Oh, that was another thing as well. There was no thermostat in sight. She'd bought 3 thermometers, and that was it. No thermostat. So when I said to her, well, where's the thermostat? She was pointing to them. I was like, no, they're thermometers. They're going to tell the temperature. They're not going to control it. To this point as well, she got mad. She basically got mad like throughout this encounter that I had with her. And I'm trying to remain extremely calm and professional, and obviously try and like put her at ease and whatnot, you know. And she said, so you're not going to sell me an animal then? And I was like, no, I in good conscience, I cannot sell you an animal in this enclosure. So she turns around again and goes, well, what can I have in there then? And I was like, fish. I was like, you've bought a fish tank. Get fish. Perfect. Like, that's like you can do that. Some people may think that's quite flippant of me, but fish tanks do not make good enclosures for reptiles. Fish tanks are for fish. Like, That's it. There's not enough airflow. There's a whole list of reasons why fish tanks are not great for reptiles. So after I'd said this, she got really mad at me again. So I'm trying to like de-escalate the situation, and she's getting up there. She's getting madder and madder and madder. And then she turns around. And she goes, "It's my son's birthday in 2 days. Like, it's my problem and it's my fault that, one, she's not listened to the advice that I've given, and two, that she's gone out and she's bought the complete incorrect stuff." Now, I don't understand the mentality of people where they think it's perfectly okay to go somewhere, get all the advice, and decent advice as well. Like, we pride ourselves on having decent levels of advice, decent levels of welfare, etc., etc. And just to be spoken to like that was it's quite sad, really. Yeah, it's quite sad. Like, I personally don't come to work to be spoken to like that. It's not on. It's not big, and it's not clever. And I just don't understand the mentality anyway. Like, people that, for example, people that complain at restaurants. If I had a problem with my food, I wouldn't make a big song and dance about it. I would go, "Oh, look, this is wrong. Please, could I change it?" And oh, yeah, sure, no worries. That's absolutely fine. I don't know where this mentality's come from of people can go in a shop, shout the odds, and expect a better service. I don't know. I just find it bizarre. But anyway, moving on. So she then storms out the shop, swearing at me, literally cussing me out like crazy. There are other people in the shop at the time. Luckily, like, there are regulars, and they were like, "What the heck?" Like, that's so weird. Like, you're trying to do the best you can for these animals, and it's just being thrown back in your face. But at the end of the day, that was the end of the story. So what's the takeaway from the situation? So what I would take away from this would be, if you're just starting out into keeping like reptiles and stuff, don't read everything you see on the internet and take it as gospel. Even like the care guides and stuff that I've done, like previously, like on the channel and stuff, like, don't just listen to those. Like, do a bit of research. I would always recommend people look at the animal's natural history. So look at where they come from, look at temperature, look at what they do, etc., etc. Because 9 times out of 10, when you look at that, you're like, oh, okay, well, that's cut out a load of folklore husbandry. And also, when it comes to like products, like, if you're just getting into it, you're not going to know, and you're not going to understand what these products do. And that's perfectly fine. Like, I'm going to be here. There are other channels on YouTube that will help you. There are some decent Facebook groups as well that are going to help you make that right decision. Don't just take what people say as gospel. It's really important to do your own research. And then you can come to a place like this and be like, well, I've heard that bearded dragons need a basking spot of 20 degrees. Is this correct? And if the information is correct, obviously in that case it's not. But if the information is correct, we'll be like, oh yeah, that sounds pretty good. Or in that case, no, you want it quite a little bit warmer than that, you know. So definitely go away, do some research, think about it long and hard. Just because a bulb says that there's UVB on it, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be appropriate. And there are different types of UVB bulbs. Different bulbs are for specific species. So what's my other takeaway from this situation? It would be, support your local store as much as you possibly can, especially if it's a decent local store. If your local shop, wherever you are in the world, be it in the United States or in the UK, now you may think like, well, why would I do that when like it's a hell of a lot cheaper in some instances, like online? So from personal experience, what we've had is when things go wrong. And at the end of the day, you're dealing with electrical goods. Things can go wrong. And when they go wrong, they can go wrong spectacularly. So what happens? If something goes wrong in your enclosure, be it thermostat, bulb, etc., etc., you've got a quick port of call. You can come to us. We can either, if it's under warranty, we can swap it out there and the problem's done. If you have a problem online, most returns policies online are that complicated and convoluted that it's really difficult to try and get a refund. And most places now will actually charge you for sending the stuff back. So it puts quite a lot of people off. So you are actually at a little bit more of a disadvantage when you are buying online. If you were to get stuff from here or any like bricks and mortar store, there are different rules that we have to follow when it comes to like items. Completely different rules. So If your electrical goods do break, we'll have to either repair them on site or we'll give you a replacement. 9 times out of 10, we'll give you a replacement. But not only are you covered when it comes to like your equipment and stuff that you've purchased, you're also covered if your animal starts behaving weirdly. Like, we come across thousands and thousands of reptiles in a year. Thousands of reptiles. And especially some of our team that have been working with reptiles for 20, 30 years, we've seen quite a lot of different behaviors that can mean different things. We've got really good working relationships with our local vets. So you can bring the animal in, or you can take video evidence of your animal. You can, well, Ash, it's doing this weird behavior, like, what can I do? So, oh, it's this, or oh, it's that. Like, don't worry about it. It's perfectly fine. Or if it is something a little bit serious, like, look, mate, we'd probably recommend like taking that to a vet. Here's a really good vet that we see, etc., etc. And you can have that really like cool like dialogue with the customers, and it's all about building that community spirit up with your customers. So when things have gone wrong for our customers in the past, so for example, they've had a complete like I don't know, like maybe like a power cut or something like that. They have spent the time with us. They've spent obviously the money. They've trusted us with their cash to provide them a decent service. Now that service doesn't stop when you purchase your animal. That once you've got your animal from us, like that's it. Like the aftercare that we have for our customers is quite extensive. It goes and goes and goes and goes until that animal is no longer in your care. And that's the difference. That is the massive difference between online and in store. And when people shop online, they don't get that camaraderie. They don't see new things. Like, they don't speak to other keepers either. Like, it's a really nice community feeling when you come into a shop and you can make friends. You can do this. It's basically like a weird reptile cafe / like daycare group where, you know, people like bring their babies and stuff like that. Countless times, like, I'll be serving a customer and then I'll come over to the animal section and there's like 2 customers that have just met and they're talking about their experiences. Oh, I've got a leopard gecko. Oh, I've got a bearded dragon. And then someone else will join in. They're like, oh, I've got an Australian water dragon. And oh my God, that's so cool. And it's brilliant to hear. And you can pass the time of day and talk to these people. And like, I think that's what we're missing in general in the world, is that like community kind of feel. But I've side quested a little bit, got a little bit too in my feels there, I suppose. But sorry, get back onto it. We spend hours, days, years, and sometimes even decades like researching like the different kinds of reptiles that we have in store, the different products, equipments and stuff, so we can curate that to your species and to your needs. We'll be able to tell you what products are good, what products are bad, products that we've personally used in the past, things to stay away from. But yeah, that kind of closes it off. So a little bit of a story, a little bit of a rant time. Again, don't typically do this kind of thing, but I thought it quite important to kind of express how I'm feeling about it, because it's not the first time and it won't be the last time, you know, when things like this happen, but it's a little bit of catharsis for me, like to try and like get it out there. The more people I tell, the better I'll feel like kind of about it. But yeah, anyway, on that bombshell, thanks for tuning in. Remember, investing in the right care and supporting your local reptile store is vitally important, not only for your pet, but also for your peace of mind. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done already. Also, I've been told I need to say bell icon. I don't know. Still, I'm extremely new to all this YouTube monarchy, so please bear with me. If you have any reptile stories or anything like that that has been like quite poignant to you, or like made you really happy, made you really sad, please feel free, share them in the comment section down below. But anyway, on that bombshell, I've been Ash, and I'll see you in the next one. Ta-ra, Ducky Bobs.